Hi and welcome to Online Appliance Tech. Today we're going to show you how to completely diagnose your Frigidaire gas oven that has no heat. So if your unit has no heat, this video is for you. We're going to show you how to test with the multimeter, the igniter, control board, and safety valve. But if you have no multimeter, don't worry about it. We can try to help you out without having one. There's ways that you can visually look at your components and tell if they're bad or good or symptoms. So first thing first, make sure you unplug it, then you'll remove your inner racks. Then you'll take a flathead to remove the two screws in the back. There's one on the far right and left. You'll turn them counterclockwise. So now you'll just lift up on the bottom cover and remove, slide out of the way, and then you'll take you can use like a adjustable wrench to remove this one bolt. This will remove the flame separator, I guess you would call it. This is what separates the flame, which is underneath this. So just lift up, put it somewhere safe, save the bolt, don't lose it. So now I'm going to pull the bottom drawer forward, that way I can get to this back little cover, the panel. Like I stated, make sure you do unplug it if you're not going to test it, but if you're going to test with a multimeter, obviously you have to have it plugged in. So be careful if you decide to do so. So as you can see, I do have it plugged in still, so I'm going to activate the bake, and then I'm going to check for voltage to the igniter, because at this point the igniter should glow. If the igniter does glow, but just glows but doesn't combust, that's going to be probably your bad igniter. But since this one's doing nothing, I'm going to check for power from the main control board. So as we know, we did activate the bake, so I should have 120 volts here. So as you can see, I have nothing, so this is obviously a main control board problem, and that's why my igniter is not working. But don't worry, we'll show you how to replace the main control board and also the igniter. And if you do need a main control board, you can check in the description below. Just click the link and it'll lead you to a page where you can see all the parts that you would need to complete this job. So I'm going to replace the igniter anyway, just because it doesn't look too healthy. Anytime the 5 years plus mark, they tend to go out. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this. So you'll remove the quarter bit screw. Not quarter bit, 1/4, and the one in the back there. And you'll just have to lift up on the burner. Then you'll have to disconnect the two wires from the safety valve. So you can use your hand and wiggle side to side, but I like to use a flathead and kind of gently pry up on it. Just be very careful with it and take your time. So let's go back. So say if your igniter is glowing, like I stated earlier, but it does not combust, like the gas is not released from the safety valve here. We can show you how to test it with a multimeter. It's kind of odd for the safety valve to go out, but if it just glows and no combustion, usually it's just a weak igniter. Very common problem. I do recommend the OEM igniter for this one. You can buy the Frigidaire. We offer those on our website at Online Appliance Parts Hub too, but we recommend this original one. That way you can just, here it is right here. It comes with all the connections together. That way you don't have to splice or nothing like that. So let's go ahead and remove this old igniter from the burner. I'm going to use my crescent wrench, and I like to use a 1/4 bit, and that way I can put my little magnet 1/4 on the end of it. So when I remove this from the burner, I want to make sure that I hold this igniter straight and just gently just take it off to it gives like that. And then I'll just use my hands to gently remove it. If it's very hard to remove, then slow down and make sure it's straight as you remove it. See, nice and slow. Because if you go too fast or it starts to get real tight, you're going to strip it. Then you have to replace the burner. So take your time and be very gentle with it, I guess you would say, and use your hands as much as possible. Like here, I have to go back with this because it's a little tight, but I don't want to put too much force on it if it's not given. Hopefully that helps. So now let's install the new igniter. So let's straighten this out. But there is a common mistake I see a lot, and I'm not going to say that you're going to be the one that's going to do it, but I definitely have to just make sure that you're aware of this. So some people put them upwards like this, and that's a no-no. You have to have this igniter right across the burner, the same way you took it off. And then another thing, you want to make sure you do not touch the igniter itself, just the metal housing. I like to make sure everything's straight with my hands, and then I use my 1/4 to screw it in, basically hand tighten it. I never want to use a drill or nothing like that. You can break the igniter, or you can strip the inner screw. So now, since you have it tighten as much as possible with your fingers, you will take your crescent wrench and this nugget tight. This is a nice snug, but not over tighten it, I guess you would say. Like that. So now we're going to gently install the igniter. You're going to make sure the burner goes over the orifice there. Actually, wait, we got to show you how to test this, which is kind of odd for it. The break is probably like 1 out of 10. I mean, 1 out of 100. I mean that. But if you have a multimeter, you can test it. So you'll put it on the ohm settings, and it should read anywhere from 0 to 2 ohms. Usually it's like 1.2-ish. So it's 1.3. My multimeter is a little jumpy, but if it reads open line, that means it's bad. That's why the gas is not being released. Okay, great. So since we know this one's good, we'll go ahead and install the igniter. So once again, we'll gently, well, first of all, we'll make sure all the wiring is on its left-hand side. And then we can connect that. Let me see. Actually, we have to connect it to the safety valve first. So on these prongs, there's one big one and one small one, so you can't really mess it up. So you'll just make sure they're on there all the way down. And then, there we go. I'm just being very gentle with this because I don't want to hit it hard. And then we'll put the burner over the orifice, line it up, and then make sure it's aligned with the hole. Then we'll just plug that in eventually. So when I screw in these 1/4 bits, I use my drill because it's not real powerful and I can control it. But if you have one of those drills that are very just fast and strong, I wouldn't use that. I would just use a hand tool, because if you vibrate it too much, you can actually break the igniter. So now, since I did it very little with my drill, I'm going to use my crescent wrench and tighten it up and make sure it's nice and snug. And then I'll just reconnect the harness to the left side of the wall there so it can get its power. So also, before I connect the harness to the wall, I have to run it through this little hole here, and then I'll connect it. Then I'll tighten the screw down to the housing with this little cover, so it just goes in an upwards angle. So you do have to press this in as you put the 1/4 bit in. I just like using my little magnet bit. That way I can control it, and then I'll come in with my drill and finish tightening it up. And also, I like to make sure I press all these little wires to this little hole here to keep them out of the way. So when I press the drawer back, they're not just sticking out. Kind of make it a little neater. And unplug it again. You should have had it unplugged when you was working on it beforehand. So we're going to remove the back panel here. They're just 1/4 bits, screws. And then be careful when you remove this, because it is sharp. So just don't slide your hand across it. And I like to remove the bottom first and then save the top one here for last, because then it may fall. So lift up and just pull it out gently and put it somewhere safe. So this is pretty simple. You just 4 Phillips screws counterclockwise. So you'll just remove it. And it's only, I believe, 4 wires that runs to this machine. The oven, I would say, not the gas top is separate. So once you remove the 4 Phillips screws, you'll just take it right off, and then you'll just pull, well, not pull, but remove the harness. It has a little clip you press in and just wiggle back and forth. So when replacing the main control board, you have to remove this cover. It's like a little peel off cover, and put on the new board, or you can just buy a new cover. They're not that much. Here's the main control board. So yeah, this will all be in the description below. Just hit that link and then it'll lead to a page, and you'll have like everything on one page. So let's get this out of the package, and then we'll show you exactly how to do it both ways. Use the same cover or just buy one and put it on. So let's get this out. So if you're going to remove the old display cover, just be very gentle. Sometimes they're just on there so much you'll actually rip. But if you do decide to do this, be very gentle. I like to use the corner first and slowly but surely work my way all the way across, as you'll see. Okay, great. So since I have that removed, we'll just line it up with the new control board. So go to angle and kind of start at the top left, and then press it in there first, and then work your way around the main control board. Then you'll just press down and make sure it's nice and, I guess, stuck on there. So I like to use a little Windex, that way I can clean it up. So I don't spray the board, obviously. Make sure you spray away from the board, and then get this damp enough, just a little bit, and then we'll clean the top. Make it look a lot nicer to get all the goo and residue off. Okay, so now we'll do it as if we bought a new cover. So it's actually way easier and it looks a lot better. So here's the just a little cover, but this is the original. If you do decide to buy that from Online Appliance Parts Hub, just make sure it's the right pad for your model by clicking in the search bar, putting your model number in. So yeah, you just same way, you have to peel it off, and you'll line it up, make sure it's nice and aligned. Oop, I about messed up there. So let me go to a side angle. That way I can see it better. Then I'll press down on my top 2 corners. Lay it on there. There we go. I'm going to use this finger as I hold it. And then once I have it on there, I can press it in. Do my corners first, and then make sure my buttons are lined up and they're hitting correctly, and then I'll press across, and then I'll just, there we go. And now I have to remove the top, I guess you call it film, make it look nice and shiny. Just gotta find it. Okay, so now we're just going to reinstall. You're going to put the top 2 Phillips screws first. Use a hand tool if your drill is very powerful, because if you go too fast or if it's too strong, I guess you would say, it'll crack the housing of the main control board. So go very slow or use a hand tool. So put the first two in, then you'll do the bottom two, and then you'll just reconnect your harness. So now we're just going to reinstall the panel. So just to line it up where it lines up with the holes to the housing of the oven. And then once you have a line, you can have two screws ready. I like to use or put the top one in first and then the bottom. And then I can just work my way around the panel itself. So I'm going to plug it back in, I'm going to hit the bake button, and I'm going to actually start it and show you what should happen. So there it goes, and then you should see a glow. So say at the beginning of the video, like this one didn't work at all, so because it had no power, but if you do get a glow when you're trying to figure out what the problem is, that means your main control board is fine because it's glowing, it's getting power to the igniter. But if it just glows, but no flame, no combustion, that's going to probably be a weak igniter. And third, it could be the safety valve, which if you have a multimeter, you can test, but that's very odd for that to break. So right here in a moment, this is when they're new, they take a little bit longer to combust, but there it goes. And then I'll show you at the bottom what it looks like. So I don't recommend you doing this, so I'm just putting my camera down here just to kind of give you a view. So yeah, there's the igniter, the gas came out, and then that's basically what happens inside a gas oven. So I hope this video was helpful, and if you could just do me a favor, hit that like button if you liked it, and then if you need parts, check out Online Appliance Parts Hub, and if you have any questions, just leave in the comments below. I will try to get to them. Thank you and have a good one. Bye.